Greetings, my dear viewer. This is a channel about marital infidelity and about the consequences if one spouse starts to cheat on the other. If you, as well as I do, support true family values and condemn cheating, then subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Let's get started. Relaxing in my plush leather office chair, I gazed out through the expansive floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse office at the brilliant Manhattan skyline. Another day of triumph for Jack Blake, the tech genius. The recent launch of our newest product resulted in a 15% increase in my company's stock, and I felt on top of the world. As I was putting my things away to go home, my phone buzzed. A notification popped up on the screen. Sarah has added you to the Fun Times group. I furrowed my brow, confused. My wife wasn't one to add me to group chats, especially not ones with such suggestive names. My curiosity piqued. I clicked on the chat. As I scrolled through the messages and videos, my face drained of color. It was Sarah, my wife, with whom I have been married for 5 years, in an intimate setting with not one but 2 men. One was Greg Thompson, a business associate whom I had introduced her to at a charity event last year. The name Marcus Reed rang a distant bell, someone my wife had mentioned from her college days. My grip tightened on the phone as I forced myself to keep reading. The messages were explicit, describing their encounters and plans for more in the future. Sarah's words oozed with desire and anticipation, a stark difference from the aloofness she showed me at home. "Damn it," I muttered, slamming my fist onto the desk in frustration. A sharp sensation sliced through my body, jolting me back from the brink of uncontrolled fury. I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply, trying to calm my racing thoughts. This wasn't a one-time slip-up or a drunken error. It was a full-blown affair, perhaps even more so. I wasn't ready to confront her. I needed more details, more proof. If Sarah was trying to play games, I would prove that she was no match for me. With a firm resolve, I started taking screenshots of all the chat correspondence and saving all the videos and photos she sent. With each click of the save button, I could feel our marriage deteriorating further. My phone vibrated once more, and a message from Sarah appeared on the screen. "Hey, honey, I got held up at work. I'll be late. You don't have to wait for me for dinner. I love you." The words made my stomach churn. How many times had she said this before? How long had I been oblivious to what was happening right in front of me? I typed back, my fingers quickly tapping on the keys. "Love you too, honey." I tossed my phone aside and poured myself a strong drink of scotch. "Don't work too hard," I murmured to myself as I took a sip. I took a sip of the amber liquid, feeling it scorch my throat. It was a welcomed distraction from the ache in my chest. As the night descended upon the city, I sat in my dimly lit office, strategizing my next move. Sarah had no clue what she had set in motion. I had started from nothing and worked my way up to build an empire, crushing anyone who dared to challenge me. Did she truly believe I would forgive this act of betrayal? Without hesitation, I finished the last drop of scotch in my glass. I need to gather evidence and patiently wait for the right opportunity to reveal to Sarah who she was up against. If she wanted to play her games, I was ready to play mine. She would soon discover that every decision has repercussions, and I planned to make hers devastating. The following days were an agonizing torture. I pretended everything was normal between us, but inside I was weighed down by the enormity of her betrayal. Sarah picked up on my distant behavior, but I dismissed her worries with vague excuses about work stress. "Are you sure everything's all right?" she asked, concerned. While we were having dinner one night, she reached across the table to hold my hand. I pulled away, keeping my focus on cutting into my steak. "There's an important deal coming up in the next few days. Don't worry," I replied. Her face lowered, and I could see the resentment in her eyes. "You know I'm always here to listen, right?" she said. I raised my head to meet her eyes. For a moment, I almost fell for her facade of being a loving, understanding wife. But then the memories of the videos and messages flooded back, and I was reminded of her true nature. My determination remained firm. Naturally, I uttered a smooth lie. Thank you for your concern, I replied with ease. Perhaps we should open that bottle of Chateau Margaux. It might help me relax, I suggested. Sarah's expression brightened at the suggestion. That sounds like exactly what I need. I'll go retrieve it from the wine cellar, Sarah exclaimed. As she hurried off, I couldn't help but smirk to myself. Let her believe that she was helping me, soothing my worries. But soon enough, she would come to understand the true extent of my troubles and who was truly responsible for them. The following morning, I reluctantly made a call that I never could have imagined myself making. A professional voice answered my call at Lena Kovacs Investigations. Hello, is this Miss Kovacs? I cleared my throat nervously before continuing. My name is Jack Blake, and I require your services for a highly sensitive issue. The other person on the line fell silent. I'm listening, Mr. Blake, came the response. I proceeded to explain the situation, my voice remaining steady as I revealed my wife's unfaithfulness. Lena listened without interrupting, only seeking clarification with occasional questions. I made my demands clear. I wanted it all. Every meeting, every present, every bit of juicy information. I didn't want anything left out. Got it, Lena responded. I'll get started immediately. Mr. Blake, are you absolutely certain you wish to continue on this path? There are times when not knowing can be a blessing, she starts. I interrupt her. Not knowing is a sign of weakness. I want the unvarnished truth, Miss Kovacs, no matter how unpleasant it may be. Are you capable of handling that? Without a doubt. I'll have my initial report ready for you within 2 days, she said. As promised, Lena's information began to pour in. It revealed that Sarah and Greg had been involved in a secret affair for almost a year, using business meetings as an excuse for their rendezvous at hotels. Marcus had only recently reappeared, reigniting an old spark when his and Sarah's paths had crossed at their college reunion. Each new piece of information was like a punch to the gut, but I forced myself to read every sordid detail. It was important for me to understand the depth of what I was facing. As more evidence accumulated, I realized I couldn't keep it to myself any longer. I needed allies, people I could rely on. The first person I called was my sister, Kelly. "Oh my God, Jack," she gasped after I explained everything to her. "That deceitful woman. I never trusted her." I couldn't help but laugh at her words. "Your instincts were right. I should have listened to you," I replied. "What's your next move?" Kelly asked. "Right now, I'm focused on figuring out a solution. My mind is already racing with ideas. I could really use your assistance," I said. "Do you even have to ask? Just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it," my sister readily replied. My next call was to Jordan, my closest friend since our college days. He reacted with far less composure than Kelly did. "I'll take care of her," he growled angrily. "And those 2 jerks she's involved with?" I appreciated his offer, but I had another plan in mind. "Thank you for the offer, but I have something else in mind," I responded calmly. "Something that will cause more pain than just physical harm." Jordan fell silent for a moment before speaking up. "You're intimidating when you get like this. You know that?" he said with a hint of amusement. "But I'm here for you, man. Whatever you need." With my team behind me, I delved deeper into my research. Turns out, Greg Thompson wasn't just a man with a wandering eye. He had been stealing from his company for years, using the money to fund a luxurious lifestyle and lavish gifts for Sarah. Marcus Reed had a clean record, but his job at a competing tech company sparked some intriguing theories. Meanwhile, Sarah was oblivious to the chaos unfolding around her. She continued to play her role as the devoted wife, while also sneaking off for secret rendezvous with her lovers. Each tender kiss she bestowed upon me, and each time she whispered, "I love you," only strengthened my resolve to see this through. One evening, as we lay snuggled in bed, Sarah turned to me with a grin. "My birthday's coming up next month," she said. "What do you think about throwing a big party? We can invite all our friends and truly celebrate." Though my heart was racing, I managed a forced grin. This wasn't exactly the perfect opportunity I had been dreaming of, but it was still pretty good. That sounds fantastic, darling. Let's go all out and make it even more special. Sarah's eyes lit up with excitement as I mentioned renting out the rooftop venue we both loved. She couldn't believe it when I confirmed that it was a possibility. Her gratitude was evident as she leaned in for a kiss, and I couldn't help but think about how her perfect party plans would come crashing down once she found out the truth. I whispered, "I'll do whatever you want, my love. After all, you only turned 35 once." As Sarah drifted off to sleep, my mind was still racing. The final puzzle pieces were falling into place, and before long my revenge would be complete. The weeks leading up to her birthday celebration were filled with lies and deceit. In the daytime, I played the role of a devoted husband, assisting with guest lists and menu selections. But at night, I worked meticulously in planning her downfall piece by piece. One morning during breakfast, Sarah announced that the venue on the 15th had been confirmed. "I can't believe you managed to get us a terrace with a view of the horizon," she exclaimed with a smile. "It's going to be absolutely magical." I raised my coffee mug in a mock toast. "Only the finest for my sweetheart." "Have you finalized the guest list?" I inquired. She confirmed, taking out her phone. "Yes, I believe so. Our usual group will be there, and a couple of my colleagues from work. And I extended invitations to both Greg and Marcus. Do you mind if I invite some of my friends? I know they're not as close to you." It took all my self-control not to express my true feelings. "Of course not," I replied calmly. "The more the merrier," I added, trying to inject enthusiasm into my voice. "In fact, why don't you let me handle the invitations?" I suggested. "It'll be one less thing for you to worry about." Sarah's face lit up with gratitude. "You're amazing," she purred. "I'm so lucky to have you. I couldn't imagine my life without you." She kissed me. A small, cynical smile crept onto my lips. Soon enough, she'll find out exactly what that means, I thought to myself. With Sarah preoccupied with party preparations, I devoted all of my energy to perfecting the technical details for my big reveal. Thankfully, my friend Max, who was a savant when it came to audio-visual setups, was instrumental in making this happen. As Max and I whispered in my home office, he made sure he understood correctly. "Let me get this straight," he said. "You want to take control of the party's video system to play what exactly?" I handed him a USB drive. "Everything," I replied confidently. Max let out a low whistle as he looked through the texts, photos, and videos on my phone. "This is intense, Jack," he said. "Are you sure you want me to do this?" I met his gaze with a determined look. "I'm sure," I replied. "There's no turning back now. Sarah has made her decision and must now face the repercussions." As the day of the party drew closer, everything fell into place. Lena had obtained the last piece of incriminating evidence, hidden camera footage of Sarah's recent encounter with Greg and Marcus. Kelly and Jordan were informed of their tasks and prepared to handle any consequences. Sarah was buzzing with excitement as her birthday approached. She bounced around the house, making final preparations and chatting endlessly about what she was going to wear. I played my part, contributing to the decorations and smiling at her delight. The night before the big celebration, we snuggled in bed together. As Sarah nuzzled closer to me, she whispered, "Thank you for all of this, Jack. I may have gone a little overboard with the planning, but I want everything to be flawless." As I stroked her hair, my touch was soft despite the hardening of my heart. "I assure you, my love, this will be an unforgettable celebration that no one will ever forget." She giggled, not understanding the implication of my words. "I love you," she said. "You know what? I love you too," I replied forcedly and awkwardly, realizing it wasn't true. As Sarah drifted into slumber, I lay awake, my thoughts in turmoil. Tomorrow was the day everything would change. Our life together, built on her deceit and lies, would come crashing down. Part of me almost felt sorry for her, unaware of the impending storm. But then the memories flooded back, the videos, the texts, the callous disregard for our vows. All traces of empathy vanished. Sarah had brought this upon herself, and now she would have to face the consequences on her own. The sun rose, casting a bright and clear light on the city below. It was a perfect day for either a celebration or a reckoning. I woke up early and carefully analyzed every aspect of my plan. Max assured me that the audio-visual setup was ready to go. Kelly and Jordan were on standby, ready to assist. Lena's final report weighed heavily in my briefcase, like a ticking time bomb waiting to detonate. I finished knotting my tie and turned to see Sarah emerge from the bathroom, wearing a dazzling gold dress. She spun around, asking me how she looked. As I took in her appearance, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness knowing it would be the last time I saw her looking carefree and beautiful, just for me. "You look absolutely stunning," I replied with complete honesty. She glided across the room, her arms immediately encircling my neck. She leaned in and whispered, "You look absolutely dashing, Mr. Blake." As she kissed me, I couldn't help but reminisce about the past, the love we once shared. In that moment, she made me feel like the luckiest man in the world. I took a deep breath and forced a smile, knowing I had to pull away from Sarah's embrace. "We should get going," I said, checking my watch. "Don't want to be late for your own party." Sarah laughed and grabbed her clutch. "God forbid." I followed her, already imagining a very different night ahead of us. The once familiar Skyline Terrace now looked drastically different, awaiting our arrival with new surprises and secrets. The twinkling lights and flowing champagne were the perfect touch for an atmosphere of understated elegance. Sarah's eyes widened with delight as we stepped inside. "It's perfect, Jack," she gushed. "I can't believe you arranged all of this." I gave her hand a gentle squeeze, my smile never faltering. "You deserve this, my dear," I said. "Now let's go greet our guests." As we made the rounds, I kept a close eye on Sarah. She seemed to be thriving, laughing and engaging in conversations with ease as friends and family wished her a happy birthday. But my discomfort grew as I saw her exchange secretive glances with Greg and Marcus. Jordan appeared at my side, offering me a glass of scotch. "Impressive turnout," he murmured. "Are you ready for this?" I took the glass and downed it in one gulp. "As ready as I'll ever be." "Is everything okay?" I asked. He nodded. "Max is ready for when you are. Kelly's watching the exits in case things go wrong." "Okay," I replied. My resolve increased when I saw Sarah throw her head back, laughing at what Greg had said. Time to get the party started. I headed towards the small stage set up for the speeches, and with a clink of my knife on my glass, I caught everyone's attention. The hall fell silent, all eyes turned to me. "Dear friends, beloved family, esteemed guests," I began, my voice unwavering. "Today we gather to recognize a truly remarkable woman, my wife, Sarah." The crowd erupted into cheers as Sarah looked at me with a beaming smile, raising her glass in acknowledgement. "My dear Sarah," I continued, locking my gaze with hers, "you are an extraordinary woman, always keeping me on my toes with your surprises." A wave of laughter washed over the room as they all knew how true that was. "In fact," I added with a mischievous glint in my eye, and my hand hovering over the remote in my pocket, "I have prepared a special video to showcase just how surprising you can be." Sarah's smile faltered for a moment, replaced by a hint of confusion in her eyes. She looked at me confused. "What's going on?" I could see it in her eyes. I pressed a button, and the lights dimmed, and the big screen behind me came to life. At first it was static, but then Sarah's crystal-clear voice came through. "Oh my God, Greg, don't stop!" There was silence in the room. All eyes turned to the screen showing Sarah and Greg in a moment of passion, and to the real Sarah, who had gone ghostly pale. "Jack, what is this?" she breathed, fear spreading across her features. I looked at her directly, unleashing all the pain and anger that I had been holding back. "This, my love, is the reality. Your reality," I replied. The screen was filled with explicit texts and images, causing gasps and murmurs to ripple through the crowd. I noticed Greg attempting to sneak towards the exit, only to be met with Kelly's stern gaze. "You see?" I said, my voice rising above the growing commotion. "My wife has been very busy this year. Not satisfied with one partner, she decided to add another to her list. Greg and Marcus, why don't you stand up and show yourselves off so everyone knows who has been secretly sleeping with my wife?" I said. The whispers in the hall quickly turned to shock as Greg and Marcus hesitantly stood up, their expressions betraying a blend of guilt and stubbornness. Sarah's complexion transformed from ghostly to fiery as she nervously inspected the room, resembling a trapped creature. "Jack, please," she pleaded in a hushed tone, grasping at my arm. "I can clarify everything." I pulled back from her touch, my tone turning icy. "Oh, I believe the videos speak for themselves, don't you?" I shot back at Sarah, daring her to try and explain her deceit. "Enlighten us, please. Tell everyone how you've been lying to me for months while secretly seeing both of them." The screen kept playing a damning compilation of evidence, texts, photos, and video clips that left no room for doubt about Sarah's betrayal. I watched the reactions of our loved ones with a mixture of disgust, pity, and morbid curiosity. Greg's voice suddenly broke through the grumbling as he rushed toward the stage, calling me a creep and accusing me of having no right. I didn't move as Jordan stepped toward him and grabbed his arm with force, stopping him in his tracks. I stood my ground, resolute. "You played a part in ruining my marriage, so I have every right to be angry with you. Did you honestly believe there wouldn't be repercussions?" I exclaimed. Marcus attempted to leave, but Kelly stepped in front of him, determined. "Don't try to run away now," she snapped. Sarah slumped into a chair, her head buried in her hands as she faced the consequences of her actions. Through tear-streaked mascara, she looked up at me and sobbed my name. "I'm so sorry," she cried. "It didn't mean anything. I love you." But I couldn't hold back a harsh, bitter laugh that silenced the room. "You think you love me, Sarah? You have no idea what true love is. But don't worry, because I'm about to show you the true meaning of betrayal by someone who once loved you," I replied. With firm resolve, I addressed the crowd once again. "Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like our party has come to an end. Before you depart, I have one final declaration to share." I met Sarah's gaze, relishing the terror that flashed in her eyes. "I am initiating divorce proceedings. He are effective immediately," I added. The room exploded into pandemonium. As the events unfolded, some guests began to disperse while others eagerly gathered around to witness every moment of the drama. Suddenly, I felt Kelly's hand on my shoulder and turned to see her shining eyes filled with both pride and concern. "Are you okay, big brother?" she asked softly. I nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over me as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. "I appreciate it. Thanks for supporting me," I said. Jordan came over, still watching Greg and Marcus closely. "That was an impressive display, my friend. What's the plan now?" he asked. I smoothed my tie, gazing into the chaos of what was supposed to be a birthday party. Now it looked like we'd be dealing with a lawsuit instead. "I have a feeling Sarah isn't going to back down that easily," I said. As security started to usher people out, I noticed Sarah talking quietly with Greg and Marcus in the corner. Their whispered conversations were interrupted by furious hand gestures. I couldn't help but smile, let them plot and plan. I had already emerged victorious in the first round and was determined to win the war. The day after Sarah's failed birthday party, I sat in Linda's office, sipping strong coffee and suffering from a headache. My lawyer appeared sharp and attentive, quickly sifting through a pile of papers. "So, are we ready to begin the divorce process?" Linda asked, glancing up at me. I simply nodded, my jaw clenched in determination. "What's our starting point?" I asked. Linda reclined in her seat, clicking her pen against the desk. "Based on the evidence, we have a strong case. I recommend filing for divorce based on adultery. We will advocate for a fair division of assets, referencing the prenuptial agreement and Sarah's unfaithfulness," she replied. "Perfect," I replied with a sly grin. "I want her to leave with nothing." Linda raised her eyebrows in surprise. "Jack, I know you're upset, but the courts typically try to divide assets fairly, even in cases of infidelity," she tried to explain. Leaning closer, my tone lowered with intensity. "Linda, she didn't just betray me. She publicly embarrassed me and made a mockery of our relationship to everyone we know. I want her to face the repercussions of her actions." Linda's gaze held mine for a long beat before she let out an exasperated sigh. "Okay, we'll aim high, but get ready to fight. Sarah won't go down without putting up a fight," she said slash. And right on cue, my phone buzzed loudly. A message from Sarah popped up on my phone. It read, "Jack, can we please talk? Is there any way we could meet up?" I showed the text to Linda, who simply shook her head in response. I remained silent, realizing that all communication would now have to go through my lawyer. With a quick swipe, I deleted the message and asked for our next course of action. Linda answered, informing me that we would be filing the necessary paperwork on the same day as she grabbed her computer. "I will have a preliminary version ready for your perusal this afternoon. In the meantime, it would be wise for you to stay out of the public eye. The media is going to pounce on this story," Linda warned me. Linda's prediction was accurate. As I departed from her office, I was bombarded by a horde of journalists, their cameras flashing and microphones thrust towards me. "Excuse me, Mr. Blake, do you have any statements about what happened last night? There are rumors that you publicly embarrassed your wife at her birthday celebration. Can you confirm if you're planning to divorce her, Mr. Blake?" Shouting all round. I weaved my way through the crowd, trying to avoid any questions or attention. Jordan was already waiting for me by his running car on the curb. He motioned for me to get in as I approached, urgently whispering that we needed to leave. We drove away quickly, leaving the chaos of the media behind us. Jordan took a quick glance at me, concern etched on his face. "How are you holding up?" he asked. I released a deep exhale, feeling the weight of the last day's events bearing down on me. "I'm okay. I just want to get this done and over with," I replied. Jordan gave a quick nod before turning his focus back to the road. "Kelly has been keeping an eye on social media and it's getting pretty intense out there," Jordan alerted me. He cringed. "So, how's the public reacting?" I asked. "It's a mix," he replied, looking uncomfortable. "Most people are supportive of you and criticizing Sarah, but there is a vocal minority who are blaming you for exposing her like that." I scoffed. "Let them gossip all they want. They have no idea what's really going on." We drove in quiet for a few moments before Jordan broke the silence. "Listen, Jack, I know you're not the type to open up about emotions and all that, but are you really okay? What you've been through and what you're still going through is a heavy burden," he said. I turned to face him, ready to brush off his concern, but the genuine concern in his gaze made me stop. "I'm just mad," I admitted to Jordan. "My anger boils over, but there's also a sense of relief. The truth is out and I can finally stop pretending. It's time to focus on taking her down and moving forward." Jordan gives a slow nod in understanding. "All right. Don't forget, Kelly and I are always here for you. Whether you need to let off some steam or want to get wasted and smash things, we've got your back." He cheered me up. I couldn't help but smile at that offer. "Thanks, dude. I really appreciate it," I replied. As we approached my penthouse, I noticed Sarah pacing in front of the building. My heart sank and anger flared up within me. Jordan whispered to me, asking if he should deal with her. I shook my head, feeling the need to confront her myself. "No, I can handle this," I said. I got out of the car and walked over to Sarah, smoothing out my jacket. She looked disheveled with red and puffy eyes and disheveled hair. "Please, just let me explain," she pleaded, a trembling voice. I raised my hand to stop her. "There's no need for explanation, Sarah. I witnessed everything. I am aware of everything. She tried to approach me, but I instinctively moved away. It didn't make any difference, I swear. Jack, I love you. We can figure this out, she continued. I forced a laugh, but it came out harsh and bitter. Do you love me? You have no idea what that really means, I replied. Tears were streaming down Sarah's face. I continued, if you really loved me, you wouldn't have cheated on me with 2 other men. I could see the pain in her eyes as I coldly said, you've made a huge mistake, and it's already irreparable. Our marriage is over. I have started divorce proceedings. My lawyer will be contacting you soon. Sarah's expression fell apart, her heart sinking. This can't be happening. What about all that we've created together? Our life, our home, she mumbled. I snapped, you should have considered the consequences before you decided to cheat. I turned and walked away, determined not to look back. From now on, all communication between us will go through our lawyers, I added firmly. As I entered the building, Sarah's voice called out behind me, you'll regret this, Jack. Don't throw away everything we had over one mistake. I turned and looked at her intently. No, Sarah, I said firmly. You're the one who threw it all away. I'm just trying to clean up the mess. With that, I strode into the building, leaving my soon-to-be ex-wife crying on the sidewalk behind me. As I rode up in the elevator to my penthouse, a mix of emotions swirled within me, anger, hurt, and a newfound sense of freedom. The worst was behind me now, and it was time to start over. As the weeks went by, the divorce proceedings became more intense. Sarah fought fiercely for every last dollar, but Linda's high fees were worth it in the end. We stood our ground, and I was sure we would emerge victorious. Just as one battle appeared to be ending, another was just starting. My phone rang late at night with Lena's name displayed on the screen. As soon as I answered, she spoke in a strained voice. Mr. Blake, we have a problem. I straightened my posture in my desk chair. What kind of situation? I asked. Lena had been keeping an eye on Marcus and Greg as I asked her to, and now she was reporting back to me. They were up to something significant, she explained. My hand balled into a tight fist at the news. I needed to know all the details. In the following minutes, Lena revealed everything she had uncovered. Marcus and Greg, their egos bruised and reputations damaged after being exposed at the party, were seeking vengeance. They had set their sights on my company, searching for weaknesses they could exploit. I needed evidence. I inquired, my mind whirling with potential scenarios. Lena confirmed it was audio recordings and incriminating emails. She promised to send them right away, and I thanked her before ending the call and dialing Jordan's number. I urged him to go to the office immediately as soon as he picked up the phone. And make sure to call Kelly and Max, too. We have a pressing matter at hand, I added. 1 hour later, my core team was gathered in the conference room. I paced back and forth at the head of the table, explaining Lena's findings. What's our next move, boss? Max inquired as he quickly typed on his laptop. Do you want me to improve our cybersecurity? I gave a confirming nod. That's definitely on the list, I replied. I want all systems to be tightly secured, every possible weakness to be identified and addressed. But we're not just going to wait for attacks, I said. Kelly leaned in with an eager look and asked, What do you have in mind? A sly grin appeared on my face as I contemplated our next move. Our plan is to set a trap. We'll give them exactly what they want, then strike back and defeat them completely, I stated. Jordan let out a low whistle and he said, Jack, I never want to be on your bad side. I turned to Max. Can you fabricate false insider knowledge? Something enticing enough to make them believe they have a chance to overthrow us? Max's grin widened as he stretched his fingers. It'll all get done, boss. What exactly do you want to do? He said. After a moment of consideration, I instructed, Let's make it appear as though we are falsifying our financial records, with secret accounts and inflated profits. However, leave a trail that leads back to Marcus and Greg if someone decides to investigate further. Kelly's eyes widened as she understood my plan. So when they try to uncover our wrongdoing, they'll actually be revealing their own, I concluded with a sly smile. We toiled through the entire night, constructing our intricate trap. Max crafted a set of convincingly fake financial records, while Kelly and Jordan strategized how to leak the information in a believable manner. As the sun rose, we regrouped for a final run-through of the plan. "Okay," I declared, scanning the faces of my exhausted but driven team. "Let's review the plan once more. Max?" I said. Max gave a brief nod of understanding. I brought up a diagram on the main screen to illustrate my point. To execute our plan, I've set up a fake server that appears to hold important financial data. The security surrounding the area appears formidable, but there is a deliberate flaw that Marcus and Greg's team can exploit. When they attempt to break in, they will believe they have found the jackpot he laid out for all of us. "Perfect," I said with a grin. Kelly, my sister, chimed in with a comment of her own. "I've created a false informant identity. As soon as Max notifies me that the server has been breached, I'll begin subtly revealing information about financial misconduct to influential regulatory agencies and financial journalists." "It's foolproof," I nodded in agreement. "What about Jordan?" Jordan informed me. "Our PR team is on standby. As soon as the news goes public, we'll act surprised and worried and promise to conduct a thorough internal investigation. We'll appear to take it seriously, but behind the scenes, we'll be shaping the story." I smiled, grateful for my dedicated team. "You've all done an excellent job. We are now in a waiting game." But we didn't have to wait too long. Just 3 days later, Max storms into my office, his eyes filled with excitement and adrenaline. They took the bait. Greg and Marcus's team successfully infiltrated the false server. I leaned back in my seat, a feeling of somber contentment washing over me. Now it's time to take action. Kelly, start releasing the information. Jordan, gather the PR team and prepare them. I warned them. It's time to implement our strategy. In the following week, the corporate realm was abuzz with gossip of possible financial misconduct within my company. As a result, our stock plummeted, and opportunistic investors began to swarm. Despite this, we stood steadfast and displayed appropriate levels of worry, while fully cooperating with the expected scrutiny from the Securities and Exchange. As the frenzy reached its climax, we executed our final move. Our anonymous source, Kelly, using her fake whistleblower account, released evidence proving that Greg and Marcus had orchestrated the entire setup. The impact was massive. Greg and Marcus were blindsided as they thought they were about to strike a major blow. Instead, they became the targets of scrutiny by the SEC, leading to the uncovering of real financial misconduct within their companies. As I observed the live broadcast of Greg and Marcus being escorted away in handcuffs, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. They had conspired to ruin me and fulfill Sarah's vendetta, but their actions only led to their own downfall. My phone beeped with a message from Jordan. "Justice has been served, boss." I paused for a moment to consider. It's hard to describe, but it feels like the start of the end. A new chapter is about to begin, and I'm ready to close this one for good. The news of Greg and Marcus's arrest shook up our entire social circle. Sarah, who was already dealing with her divorce and being publicly humiliated, now faced even more isolation due to her connection with the disgraced businessmen. Linda called a few days after the arrests to share some exciting news. Sarah's lawyer had reached out and they wanted to settle the case, she told me with an uncharacteristic tone of excitement in her voice. It was hard to believe, but it seemed like things were finally starting to look up for us. I cocked my head in disbelief, even though Linda couldn't see it on the phone. "Settle? What are the conditions?" I asked. Linda responded, "Basically our demands. You will divide the property according to the prenuptial agreement. You will not have to pay alimony, and she will not contest any of your claims." I let out a long, low whistle. What could have caused this sudden change in her demeanor? I asked. Linda's tone turned somber as she spoke. "It seems that she's hit rock bottom. The scandal has destroyed her reputation among the upper class, and with Greg and Marcus facing consequences as well, she's lost her main sources of support. She wants this to end." I paused, mulling over her words. The part of me still reeling from her betrayal wants to prolong it, to make her suffer even more. However, the rational part of me, the businessman, realizes that it's time to let the situation go and move forward. "Okay, prepare the papers," I said decisively. 2 days later, I sat across from Sarah for what would be our final meeting. As I signed the divorce papers, I couldn't help but notice how different she looked. Pale and worn down, a stark contrast to the vibrant woman I had once married. As we prepared to part ways, Sarah spoke softly, her voice barely audible. "I apologize, Jack." I looked at her, remembering our happy moments, but now the love I once had for her was now overshadowed by her betrayal. "Goodbye, Sarah." With those words, I turned and walked out of the room, leaving you behind forever. As I walked out onto the pavement, a sense of relief washed over me. It was finally done. My phone chimed with a text from Kelly. "Drinks to celebrate? Jordan and I are at O'Malley's." I smiled, quickly texted back, "On my way," and caught a taxi. It dawned on me that for the first time in months, I felt truly excited. The bar was full when I arrived, but I spotted Kelly and Jordan sitting in a cozy booth in the corner. They stood up as I approached, and Kelly wrapped me in a warm hug. As we sat down, she turned to me and asked with a gentle smile, "How are you doing, big brother?" I pondered the question for a moment before taking a sip of the whiskey that Jordan had already ordered for me. "To be honest, I feel liberated," I said. Jordan raised his glass in agreement and said, "A toast to new beginnings." We clinked our glasses, the burn of good whiskey familiar and comforting after months of stress and anger. As the night went on, our conversation shifted from the recent drama to our future plans. Kelly wanted to start her own PR firm while Jordan was considering taking a break to travel. Kelly turned to me, curious about my plans as a newly single tech mogul. I leaned back, realizing that beyond my current goal of divorcing Sarah, I hadn't given much thought to my personal future. I confessed, "I don't know. I've been so focused on the company and the divorce. I suppose I need to rediscover my identity separate from work and relationships." Jordan gave a wise nod. "Perhaps you should pick up a hobby, something completely unrelated to your professional life or love life." I laughed and said, "Such as knitting, perhaps?" Kelly's face lit up. "Oh, what about photography? You loved it back in college. Why not revisit that hobby?" The suggestion sparked a sense of nostalgia within me. I recalled moments from the past when life was more carefree and uncomplicated. "That's actually a good idea. It would be nice to have something else to focus on besides work," I replied. As we sipped our drinks and exchanged stories, I couldn't shake off the feeling of endless possibilities. My life had been consumed by my marriage and business for far too long. Now, I had the opportunity to rediscover myself and figure out my true desires. The following weeks were a blur of excitement and busyness as I poured all my energy into my photography hobby, just as I did with my business ventures. I enrolled in classes, invested in high-quality gear, and devoted my weekends to capturing the city through my lens. At my job, I spearheaded several novel initiatives, pouring my passion into creativity. My colleagues responded with eagerness, and suddenly the workplace was alive with a fresh sense of direction. Then, one beautiful Saturday afternoon, while preparing for a photo shoot in Central Park, I recognized a voice. "Ah, it appears someone has embraced their inner tourist." Looking over my shoulder, I saw Lena walking towards me with a curious smirk on her face. "Hi," I greeted her, putting the camera down. "What are you doing here?" She shrugged and joined me in a walk through the park. "I was simply taking in the day, not anticipating running into you here, especially not with that fancy camera of yours," she replied. I laughed, giving my own camera a friendly pat. "Photography is my new hobby. It turns out there's more to life than just boardrooms and financial statements, I said. Lena smiled and nodded in agreement. I'm proud of you, Mr. Blake, she said. It's good to see you looking happier. We continued our walk in silence, pausing every now and then for me to capture a photo. When we arrived at Bethesda Fountain, Lena broke the silence once more. I've been meaning to give you a call. I have some news that might pique your interest, she said. My eyebrow raised and I lowered my camera. Really? What kind of news? I inquired. Lena scanned our surroundings before gesturing towards a nearby bench. As we sat down, she leaned in and spoke in a hushed tone. It's regarding Sarah. She's been up to something intriguing lately. A hint of old resentment flickered inside me but was quickly replaced by curiosity. What kind of moves? I asked. Lena brought me up to speed by telling me that she had been in touch with some of my former business partners. She seemed to be looking for support for a new project, perhaps in the technology field. I couldn't help but snort at the idea. Sarah was clueless when it came to coding. What could her motivation be? Lena wasn't sure yet, but she wanted me to be aware of the situation, just in case Sarah tries to reach out to my previous connections or use any confidential information. I nodded, thoughts of possible outcomes already running through my head. Thank you, Lena. Please keep an eye on her, I said, grateful for her help. I will, Mr. Blake, she replied, standing up. Enjoy your picture. It suits you. As she walked away, I wondered for a moment what this new information could mean. A small part of me urged to jump back into the fray, ready to take on whatever scheme Sarah had concocted. But another part, the one that had been relishing the tranquility of the last few weeks, resisted. I lifted my camera and aimed it at a pair of kids frolicking by the fountain. As I captured the moment with a click of the shutter, I made a choice. I wouldn't let Sarah suck me back into her web of chaos. I promised myself that I would keep a close eye on the situation, but I didn't let it take over my life like it had before. In the weeks that followed, I devoted myself to my passion for photography and new projects at my company. Lena kept me updated on Sarah's whereabouts, but there was no significant change. It seemed her attempts to establish herself in the technology industry were failing. While I was in my home office reviewing some new product designs one evening, my phone started to ring. The caller was Kelly. As soon as I answered, she greeted me with, "Hey, big brother." She then asked, "Are you busy?" I leaned back in my chair and stretched before responding, "I'm finishing up some tasks. Anything you need?" Jordan and I were discussing getting some food. Would you like to join us? She suggested. Glancing at the clock, I realized it was 8 o'clock, which surprised me. Why not? Where do you want to meet? How about the new Thai restaurant on 5th Street? Can you meet us there in an hour? I asked. 1 hour later, I took my seat across from Kelly and Jordan, surrounded by a delicious spread of Thai dishes. As we dug into our food, conversation came naturally. We talked about work, Kelly's aspirations for her PR firm, and Jordan's upcoming trip. In between bites of pad Thai, Jordan asked me about my photography. He jokingly asked if I was going to give up my day job and become the next Ansel Adams. I chuckled and shook my head, saying that it was just a hobby, but I enjoyed it. I find it therapeutic. It allows me to see things from a different perspective, you know, I said. Kelly nodded with a warm smile on her face. I couldn't help but feel grateful for her observation. She was right. I had changed. The rage that fueled me for so long had dissipated, replaced by a sense of tranquility that had been absent for years. I suppose I am, I finally admitted. I released all the negativity that had been weighing me down for too long. I felt a sense of liberation and readiness to move forward. Jordan raised his glass in a toast, and we all joined in. We toasted to new beginnings and moving forward. In that moment, I was overwhelmed with gratitude for these two individuals who had been there for me through thick and thin. The rest of the night flew by, filled with delicious food, great conversations, and dreams for what's to come. As we hugged goodbye outside the restaurant, I felt a surge of anticipation that had been absent for so long. Once home, I gravitated towards my balcony, camera in tow. The cityscape unfolded before me in all its glory, a breathtaking display of shimmering lights and bustling activity. I lifted my camera, capturing the moment as the city skyline met the endless expanse of the sky. A sense of joy filled me, and I lowered the camera with a smile. This, I realized, was what it meant to move forward, not to forget the past, but not to let it hold me back from shaping my own future. The following morning, I woke up bright and early with a surge of energy, ready to tackle the day. While sipping my coffee and checking my inbox, I stumbled upon an email from Lena. She informed me that Sarah's tech project had fallen through due to lack of funding. Apparently, she was leaving town for the West Coast in search of a new beginning. I reread the letter from Lena twice. There was no sense of triumph in Sarah's failure, no desire to rejoice in her downfall. Instead, I felt a sense of release, as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I didn't answer the letter but reached for the phone and dialed Kelly's number. Once she picked up, I greeted her with a "Hey. Do you have any plans this weekend?" I asked. "I was considering a photography expedition upstate and wanted to invite you and Jordan along," I explained. Kelly's surprise was clear in her response. "Wow, Jack, that sounds amazing. I'll double-check with Jordan and let you know," she replied. After ending the call, I caught a glimpse of myself in the window. The person staring back at me was not the same one who had uncovered his wife's infidelity all those months ago. Physically, he had grown stronger, but in other ways, he had become more gentle and receptive to the possibilities that life offered. I raised my mug of coffee in a quiet tribute to this transformation in him. My life transformed into a vibrant tapestry when I discovered my passion for photography. What began as a simple hobby swiftly evolved into a thriving business, igniting a fire within me that I never knew existed. This journey not only enriched my world, but also led me to an extraordinary woman who would become the mother of my adorable twins. While our family was enjoying life together, Lena, at my request, looked after Sarah, my ex-wife. It was a stark contrast. While my life blossomed with joy and success, Sarah's existence seemed marred by hardship. The images Lena shared with me were haunting. They depicted a woman who bore little resemblance to the elegant Sarah I once knew. Instead, I saw a tired face, worn and unkempt, dressed in ragged clothing, rummaging through the city's refuse. Lena revealed that Sarah was struggling in a dilapidated neighborhood, confined to a cramped, squalid room, battling to make ends meet. The life that had once been filled with promise had crumbled around her. A part of me felt a pang of sympathy, but another part of me couldn't help but think that her choices had led her to this point. It was a bitter reminder of how drastically life can shift, and how the paths we choose can define our destinies. And that's the end of the story. Thank you for your valuable time. Give me your generous likes. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. May the force be with you.